How crazy would it be if there was a way that you could start a fight with maximum rage so that you use your active abilities literally the second that combat begins? In this video, we're showing you exactly how to do that. We'll talk about whether or not we think that's over the top, and we'll see if we can even get a rally to launch with max rage. Stick around for a full breakdown of this technique and our evaluation of whether or not this might even qualify as an exploit. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today we're going to be showing you a technique that I think we should be calling rage loading. It's putting rage onto a commander before they've even entered into combat. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. If you like Rise of Kingdoms guides that help you get value and smash your enemies, consider smashing that subscribe button for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. We're a sponsored content creator, and we're going to be talking about something today that is a little over the top. Now, I didn't believe it until I was doing the recent Arms Master Lohar training, but as it turns out, if you have a commander like Joan of Arc who gives all nearby marches extra rage generation, it will give that buff to marches that are not even in combat, and that rage will stick with them until they enter into combat. So here you see I've got a small number of troops with Lohar and Joan of Arc buffing up this other march. I may have brought too many troops for this level of barb. I'll have to back off of this fight to actually not kill the barb, make sure I get enough rage onto my commanders. But you'll see, when I take this commander right over here that's nearby and I send it into combat, what you're going to witness is kind of ridiculous. It's going to have a full rage bar, and it's going to immediately fire off the active abilities here. I think we've got more than enough rage. Let me unleash the mayhem, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This is ridiculous. Boom! Full rage bar, active skill fires off. Did you see that? This is not normal. This is not normal. That is crazy. Look how fast that barb got obliterated. Was there even a barb there? What just happened? Okay, so the way that this works is that marches that are nearby but not actually engaging in the fighting are still on the field. While they're on the field, they take place in whatever is happening on the field. That's why sometimes you get reports when there's like a Richard I running around. He does that huge area of effect, slow and damage reduction, and you take no damage from that ability. It is not an ability that does damage, but it shows up in the report. When you're on the field, you're on the field. And that means apparently that you hang on to some amount of rage, which is interesting because when you leave combat, don't you shed all your rage? So I feel like this is sort of an unusual mechanic that might not be working as intended, but I'm really not sure. I'm not sure if this is intentional or not. I think it's very, very powerful. I think it is really savage in a event like Arms Master Lohar, where you're battling against a unit over and over and you're trying to have the most troops possible left over. You basically have to do this technique in order to be in a top rank, which is kind of nuts. Now, I thought a lot about like, okay, this rage loading thing, is it really a problem? And I think with the exception of the Arms Master Lohar training, it's not really an issue. I do think if you're battling at like the Ruins or the Altar of Darkness, it would be pretty sick to have everybody group up. You rage load your whole alliance worth of players, and then you send them to combat. That seems a little unfair to me, but you could do that with how the game works, and it's kind of nuts. The thing that would really bother me, though, I mean, that kind of bothers me, but what would really bother me is if I could launch a rally that has maximum rage. Do you think we could do that? What I'm going to do now is test whether or not I can launch a rally. That's right, launch a rally and give that rally maximum rage while the rally is still in my city, maybe? Because I'm not too worried about when the rally's traveling to where it's going. It goes so fast. There's no way, unless you have like a parade of Joan of Arcs and barbs and people, I don't know, hitting other marches to give Joan of Arc buffs. Like, you're not going to buff the rally this way. It's too much work. I mean, it's actually kind of a crazy idea and might be worth doing, but I think what I'd like to see is if I can basically take that same march I had before, We're going to take the Lohar. We're going to put in a Joan of Arc. And we're going to use a very small number of troops. Boom. We'll say 50,000. Okay. I'm going to lure this barb. Come on over, baby. Next to the city. After I've set a rally. And we're going to see if the rally ends up getting rage. So we're going to send that rally now. Here's a barb fort. Doesn't really matter which fort we're rallying. We're going to use some commanders that you know and love. The Double C Minamoto. Okay, so we've set the rally. So now, I don't think this is going to work for the record. But, I mean, aren't you curious? Because I'm really curious. If I dance around, I got some time here. I'm gonna bring this barb over to my city. So I'm going to hit it. And then I'm going to dance my way back toward my city, nice and slow. I'm going to take this fight next to the city, okay? And I don't want to lose this guy. So this is going to take a second of back and forth. Okay, so I'm going to bring him to the city. I'm going to describe the method as I do this. We're going to power up the rage. We're going to watch as the rally kind of makes its way over to the destination. And once the rally hits the fort, what we would expect to see, if this actually works, which I hope it doesn't, if this actually works, is that the rally will have max rage. Because technically, it's in my city, but technically, the rally is not in my city. Pro tip here, if you are about to get imprisoned and you have no way of getting out of that situation and you want to save some number of your troops, if you set a rally with those troops, technically, they are no longer in your city anymore. And they won't get hit when your city is getting zeroed, basically, after you've been in prison, which is kind of nuts. So here we are. I think we're close enough to the city, right? Like, this has got to be close enough that if this would buff the city, oh yeah, that's close enough. We've certainly given it some amount of rage here. And this barb is a little bit weak already because I've been dancing back and forth. That's 2 strikes of rage now. How many are we going to get? 3 strikes of rage. I don't think, like strikes of rage, it's a made up term. I don't know, activations of Joan of Arc's ability. Because there's no buffs showing up, I don't think this is going to work. But I just needed to prove it for myself, okay? I really just needed to prove it for myself. We're going to cut now to the future when the rally's about to hit. We'll see if this thing actually connects. Now, as this rally makes its way out the door, I do want to mention for a moment why I think this is kind of a big deal if this does work. Because it would mean that when your rally immediately strikes a target in which troops are going to die, like a fort, a flag, a holy site, a pass, it's going to inflict dead troops, and that would be really savage. And while you could rage load the march, as I was describing earlier, let's say the path that the rally is going to go is down here. You could have like lots of marches, like battling, you know, you could have like farm and main account, Joan of Arc's kind of like battling to buff the rally. Oh, looks like the rally's zigging where I thought it'd be zagging. But you get the idea, right? Like, you could have a corridor of buffing taking place to give it this rage before the fight even starts. Over the course of a long rally, though, I don't know how much that's actually going to matter, you know? I don't know how much it's actually going to matter, but it is kind of nuts. Let's see if this works. I honestly don't think it will, but I also didn't think that the rage could be loaded onto a commander at all. I have a suspicion this is maybe not intended. I don't know. And we're going to find out. Okay, we're 10 seconds away. I want you to watch the rage bar. If the rage bar is full at the start of this fight, this is going to be really nuts. Is it full? Is it full? No. Rage bar not full. That makes sense. So when a rally has been launched, the troops are not in your city, but they're also not in the field. I guess they're in your castle. So good to know that this rage loading technique doesn't work here. But it does work if you have marches on the field. And this is where things get really interesting. I think the best uses of this, assuming it's an okay thing to be doing, which I don't know if it is or it isn't. I'm going to follow up with my contacts just to say like, hey, I wanted to mention this. Are you aware that this happens? I think for Arms Master Lohar, like you have to do it to be in the top. which is kind of weird. And that's something I've never liked about Armsmaster Lohar, is that you can take buffs from other marches. And really that event is not about picking the best commander and optimal sequence and getting a little lucky, but it's like, how much do you want to expend buffing the heck out of your march that is doing arms training? And the other major use that I can see is just, you know, rage loading a bunch of armies that are about to battle either in the field, in KVK, right? You're sitting at the pass waiting for the pass to open, or you're about to battle at the ruins or altar of darkness. Like, you could rage load everything. This is not something that I knew about until very recently. So this is not something that was a part of our last Kingdom versus Kingdom. Man, you mean you'd see it if we had done it. We live streamed the whole thing. So there's really like no avoiding that if that had been a thing that we were doing. But I think this thing's kind of nuts. I don't think it should work that way. Just to be super clear, I've talked about how you could use this, but I don't think it's a great idea to be using this until we find out whether or not it is acceptable. And that's something that I'm going to try to get the answer to, and we'll see what it is. And I'll drop that into the comments or make a video update or even just a community post that would indicate like, hey, here's what we learned. So by the way, haven't subscribed already? Consider subscribing. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Consider subscribing to the channel for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos. And if you're looking for more hacky sort of things that you can do in Rise of Kingdoms, I actually have a couple videos. I'll put cards up in the top for those. The one I'll call your attention to as being the one that probably everybody should go and watch is my 12 hacks for Rise of Kingdoms. You know, they're not like hacks like you're, you know, changing the code here or breaking into the in-game systems. It's really just more like tremendous optimizations. You got life hacks, you got growth hacks, and now you got Rise of Kingdoms hacks. Check that video out. Throw a like onto here if you didn't know about this technique or you learned something new today. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.